Clarity is power. Knowing what matters to you and aligning your goal with what matters to you will increase the chances for you to achieve that goal. But there is something even more important than that, which I would like to explain, and this is the domino effect. I'm sure you have seen these super catchy TikTok videos when one person pushes one domino and then a whole structure of domino falls out. This is exactly how your career and business success works. So first you have the vision. This is the vision of your ideal you and of your ideal career, what we're working on right now. And that's the most important domino. Then you have a goal, but this goal is very well aligned with your vision. Because if your vision is here and your goal is here, when your goal is achieved, your vision is still not achieved. But if your vision is here and your goal is here, once you achieve your goal, you achieve your vision. And then of course you have the system, the day-to-day tasks which you're going to focus on in order to achieve that goal. And this alignment, it's crucial. I've worked with many people who had somewhat clarity on their vision, then they set a goal, but this goal was actually not the one that will take them to their vision, and finally the system made no sense. Although this seems like a no-brainer or a common sense, which we know that it's not common practice, in my career as coaching consultant, I have seen so many people, even adults, mess up with this. So we need to make sure that we have clarity on the career vision, and then we align the goal to that clarity. Now we are moving to the ideal career vision, and I see that I have more typos, but honestly, I do not care. So your ideal career vision on a big scale has three main components. What you live, your ideal day. How does your day go like? What are the things that you experience? What you give, your purpose, your mission, your why, which we previously discussed in the ideal me part. And what you receive. How much money, what kind of recognition, what kind of other perks do you want to receive? At this point, you might want to pause the video and start reflecting in your guidebook or on a piece of paper, just everything that comes to mind. What do you want to live? What do you want to experience in your career? What do you want to give? And what do you want to receive? Now, how this works. When we are creating the vision for our ideal career, there are two elements which we absolutely must get right. This is the creative tension. The creative tension is that kind of tingling, ambitious feeling that you have and that moves you towards your goal. So if your vision is here and you're here and the gap is too huge, you're going to feel discouraged. And I have seen this with so many young people. They want to be right here, they're here, and because of this huge gap, they get very much discouraged. Your vision should be believable, and the distance from where you are to your ideal career should feel doable for you. I know that all self-help culture is promising you and it's asking you to dream big. Here, I'm asking you to feel good with your dream. And this brings me to the second very important point. There should be no resistance. When you look at your ideal career vision, you should not be feeling, am I going to achieve this? Is this achievable for me? Do I deserve this? When you look at it, you should feel absolute bliss. Let me quickly tell you a personal story. When I first started doing my vision boards, they were not working for me. And I came to a point where all I was seeing on my vision board was authentic. It was my dream, but I was not seeing results in my life. And the vision board started discouraging me and I felt horrible about it and I threw it away. Then I learned about the creative tension and the fact that every time that we feel some sort of resistance, we feel like I'm not going to achieve this, I won't be able to achieve it. This lowers our motivation. I did something very different. I created a very humble vision board. Actually, I created a vision board which was more process oriented. It was not so much about what I will have and what I will accomplish, but mostly how I will show up in the world and how I will act. And trust me, that same year, everything that I had on the previous vision boards came through. 4 years later, I went to Bali, which was one of my dreams, and Bali is not very close from where I am. And I visited all the places like Egypt, Italy, Mexico, all the places that I wanted to visit. Why? Because what I was currently seeing on my vision board was exciting for me, it was believable, and it was giving me that comfort that yes, I can absolutely achieve this. When you create your vision board and when you visualize your ideal career, I suggest that you make sure it's not something that you don't buy when you see it, because it will work backwards, it will demotivate you. And finally, make sure that you also add some process, like you add, okay, I'm being brave, or I'm showing up every day, I'm doing my steps. What works? Feelings and emotions. When you start working on your product for your vision, for your ideal career vision, I suggest that you avoid abstractions. Even if it's something small, make sure that it's concrete. This is because our amygdala, the emotional part of our brain, doesn't process abstraction. Freedom is something that's very abstract. Working from a mountain top is something that's very, very concrete. So every time you're working with visions, try to work with specific images which evoke emotions, which evoke visions, which evoke sounds, which evoke sensory information, and don't go for abstractions. Now we are going to do your challenge in 4 steps. Step number 1 are the questions. In your guidebook, workbook, you have some questions about your ideal career. You could either make a pause now, like hit the pause button and do them in your guidebook, or you can do that once you're done with this video. Then you have the elements of your ideal career. Again, in your guidebook, you can complete this. If you choose to do after you watch the video, I will link some possible soundtracks that you can use and that I think are very motivating for this type of activities. So take the time to complete the different elements of your ideal career. Again, you have a visualization which is in your program, and you can do right after this video, which will help you connect to the more intuitive and deepest part of yourself and see how does your ideal career, business or career looks like. And finally, probably the most important step is the now. When people think about their ideal career or their ideal business, they usually conceptualize it as something that's far away in the future. And that's also demotivating. Something that I found with my clients and myself that works miracles is when you start living part of this ideal career now. I remember I worked with a boy who dreamt of becoming airplane pilot, and he ultimately became after more years than he originally imagined, but still he accomplished his dream. And he asked me, all right, so how am I going to live my dream of being a pilot without a plane and without a training? And I said, okay, this is your dream, but let's unpack it a little bit. Like, what are some of the feelings? What are some of the behaviors associated with the dreams? What are some other elements of the dream? And I think he didn't get it for quite some time, but when he finally got it, he realized that part of his dream was making an effort, was becoming this ideal me, and here you see the link between the two. But it was not just being a pilot, it was also having great relationships. And the more he started acting as his dream was real now, the more he started living things that matter to him now, the closest he got to gathering the money that he needed for his training. And he finally became a pilot for Wizz Air. Not the perfect airline company, but it's a start. So your most important step is to find ways to live your ideal career now. You have prompts and of course our chatbot, Cathy, that will help you do that. You can continue with the visualization. How do you visualize? If you wake up in the morning and you are feeling good, you think that success is believable, then visualize in details. If you wake up in the morning and you're like, meh, you're maybe depressed, you're demotivated, then just go general. Reach for the feeling that feels good right now. So that's the rule of thumb. When you wake up, you can either visualize your ideal self or your ideal career, but in both cases, if you feel confident, visualize in details. If you feel like depressed or not so confident or a bit insecure, like this feeling of I'm not sure if I'm going to make it, then just go general and aim for the thing that feels good. If you want to use visualization to accomplish more tasks and to move forward towards your goal, here is another key. If you're motivated, visualize success. So if you wake up in the morning or if you're about to do a task and you're really motivated, you feel like you have the energy, visualize success. Let me give you an example. You are about to do a research on how to improve your sales skills and you're feeling energized. You just did your starting protocol. Visualize how at the end of this research, you know what are the 3 steps that you can do to become the best salesperson, right? So right before your task, you're visualizing the success of this task and you're visualizing how this task will catapult you towards your dream. But if you have to do that same task, if you have to do some research about sales skills, becoming a better salesperson, but you're feeling like not so motivated, visualize failure. Visualize how failing to do this might lead to not becoming a good salesperson, not having your own business, not having financial freedom. And that should act as a motivator. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to do the challenge in your workbook.